there, I'd be all about it.
You're right in there, huh? Hey, Glistener Elf. We'll start off our finals between Ross and Duke. Duke will draw a card for the turn. It's a copy of Flooded Strand, and he is already in the tank. Pass the turn back over to Ross. Will Duke. Ross will draw a card. It's a copy of Inkmoth Nexus. This is a copy of Green Sun Zenith.
This is a Zenith for 1. I assume Tom is looking for Noble Hierarch.
And there is the Hierarch. Make that Glistener Elf a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger.
And the Nexus here complicates matters quite a bit because Reed needs to clean up this board that exists right now and then needs to find an answer after the fact for the Inkmoth Nexus.
Oh, wow. Tom is so nice. Here, Reed. Have one of my tokens.
A good guy.
Yeah. Reed going to take one. It's a Tundra.
Yeah, no non-basic land hate to really worry about here. There may be one Wasteland as a bullet in Tom's list off of his 1 copy of crop rotation. There is, but Reed does not have time to get fancy with the lands he's searching for. He needs both colors of mana online as soon as possible.
Here's a Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming for the Duke. You have to imagine he's looking for a card like Terminus. Put that back on top of the deck, maybe cast the next turn. We'll see. Two cards back. And there is Terminus. Quickly resolves.
Apparently Reed's token of choice here, a dragon token.
Not a bad choice. Draw here for Tom. After Duke did play a Scalding Tarn. Let's look at Taxium Probe. How's information sound? A Force of Will, a Brainstorm.
And you're seeing the problem here that Reed has with Inkmoth Nexus in this matchup. He's got a counter spell, he's got a Wrath of God, and that can't touch it.
A couple of lands too, and Flooded Strand and Plains. So Tom's got that information. See Tom's hand. Couple copies, of Vines of the Vastwood. He's going to cast a Brainstorm now. That's good to go.
Tom really looking for another mana here. This is going to be his whole turn.
Yeah, didn't draw one. Looks to maybe be Brainstorm locked here too.
Because his whole turn was going to get swallowed up by the Force of Will anyway if he just cast something, Tom was brainstorming, hoping to find a land so he could play land, threat, that gets Force of Will, and then the next turn he has a lot of mana to operate with. But now he's in some trouble.
Tarn will get sacrificed by Reed again. His life total generator doesn't matter in this matchup. He's down to 18 though.
I think if Reed did not have Force of Will in his hand, Tom would have just cast something.
I think so, yeah. Volcanic Island is what Reed did search up. See if Reed wants to cast the Brainstorm at the end of the turn again. We'll see. Yeah, we know his hand. Brainstorm, Verdict, Force, Plains, and a Flooded Strand. But he will just draw a card.
And a Source of Plowshare picked up by Reed here. That's a huge draw.
Pretty big one. There's the Glistener Elf for Tom. See Tom taking a look at his hand. He's got a Force Will. Looks like 2 Blight Ninjas over there. We know about the Vines. They'll pass the turn back over to Duke. Duke will draw. Not a miracle. At least it doesn't look that way.
Curious to see how Reed wants to initiate these fights. He can't really tap out for something like Supreme Verdict because the Nexus is too dangerous. But he also doesn't want to plow the Glistener Elf because he wants to save the plow for Inkmoth Nexus. So he may be willing to take a shot or two from this Glistener Elf.
Look at Tom fire up.
Yeah.
There's swords. I wonder if Tom will fight here.
I think Tom's got to fight over this.
There's a Force moving a Blighted Agent.
I don't see this Force getting much better.
See if Reed will fight back. Again, he's got a Force Will in his hand. Blue cards are Brainstorm and Verdict. Tom trying to play the game on his terms. Looks like Duke prefers to Brainstorm in response. So 3 cards coming for him. And 2 will have to go back.
Looks like Reed with another. Can't make out if that's a plow or a council's judgment. Looks like he's picked up some other white card.
He's forcing back now. Going to remove the Supreme Verdict to do so. So every card in Reed's hand right now is a mystery to Tom. And one, in fact, will come across.
Tom's got to be a little bit happy that at least the Supreme Verdict is out of the hand now. The Glistener Elf, as far as Tom knows, is good to go. And next turn, he's going to get his first fresh draw step in a while. He'll be outside of the Brainstorm block.
Duke going to sacrifice that Flooded Strand to get himself a Tundra. We're down to 16, but again, life total doesn't really matter all that much. What does matter is how many counters are on that Tom Ross token at the top of your screen, and there are only 3 right now. Duke will draw a fresh one.
This would be a really powerful spot for Jace.
Terminus isn't so bad either.
Terminus is not bad.
And there's a top. Things are going Reed's way now. His last card is a Council's Judgment. Tom will draw cards, copy Noble Hierarch. You see the Glistener Elf. He will deploy that. Duke will look at the Council's Judgment.
So game 1, Reed, 1 copy of Supreme Verdict in the list, 3 copies of Terminus. So Reed is down to a single Terminus as a sweeper. He still has his copies of Source of Plowshares, of course. 3 copies still left in his deck, but two copies of Council's Judgment as well. But he's light on sweepers.
So Reed looking at a counterspell among other cards here. Entreat the Angels is one of the cards he's looking at as well. So he could actually close the door on this game pretty quickly, depending on how things go. Looks like he has some interest in casting the Council's Judgment. So that's what he'll do. Bye-bye Glistener Elf. Ross will draw. Inkmoth Nexus. Blighted Agent. He reloads very quickly.
And Blighted Agent is really bad for Reed because that means Entreat the Angels does not offer any defense.
Inkmoth a pretty good draw there too.
And that turn was about the worst case scenario for Reed.
Tom rebuilt very, very quickly. Duke again looking at Entreat the Angels among those cards with the Sensei's Divining Top. He'll untap and draw. See what this is. It's a Plains. Feels like a Jace. Yes, sir. Elevator goes down. Agent back to the grip. Ross will draw. Copy of Viridian Corruptor.
Not ideal here.
Not the best draw I've ever seen. Agent again. Duke will spin.
And I think Reed might be just trying to set up a straight damage race here where he entreats for as much as possible, uses Jace just to unsummon a few times, and wins before Ross can get some more mana and play all the spells he's been holding.
One of the cards that Reed found is actually Counterbalance. So he's going to bounce this, pass the turn back. Ross will draw. It's a Brainstorm. He'll start here. Duke going to give this a little bit of thought. He says, I think I'm going to draw with my top.
This may be an entreat in response. He doesn't want Tom to find Force of Will here.
He lets it go. Invigorate among the cards that Tom has drawn.
And Tom has critically found another land. So this is not giving up his entire turn.
However, this one is not blue mana. And I think that matters quite a bit in this scenario because he can't redeploy Blighted Agent.
That's a big deal. If he has some follow-up play here, it's not bad, although he would prefer a Blighted Agent over the other options.
See what Ross is going to put back here. Savannah. Will he try to attack her with the Inkmoth Nexus? He also has Noble Hierarch there. Doesn't look thrilled about his positioning. There's that. Will Duke try to move in now with Entreat is the question. Yes. So here are the Angels. And only for 2. And try to play around days appropriately. So there is Entreat. 2 Angels are going to come in. Duke will draw the top again.
There are 3 copies of Days in Tom's list, so makes a lot of sense for Reed to respect it in that spot.
There is a top. Duke's card in his hand right now, I believe, is Counterspell. Jace is going to take a look at Tom's deck. Duke will leave that there. Here's an attack with just 1 Angel. Ross is going to go down to 14.
Yeah, Reed showing a lot of respect for Tom's ability to kill him.
Absolutely.
Leaving that Jace just on basically unsummon and Fate Seal mode, leaving an Angel back on defense to try to block a Nexus.
It's a Blighted Agent. We'll read counter. It's good to go.
Well, this Blighted Agent's really dangerous to resolve because Tom has 2 copies of Vines of Basswood in his hand. He can fight over a Jace activation next turn.
Absolutely. Spin the top. Duke going to take a look at a couple of cards. Force of Will among them.
Even if Reed counterspells one of the Vines, Tom can play over the top. And then Invigorate in hand 2. You know, there's a Blight Agent plus Noble Hierarch plus the Invigorate. I mean, this is dangerous.
We're going to have a fight. Duke with a Spell Pierce. Gonna try to Vines again. Tom saying, I need this in play. Duke with a Counterspell. Both Vines gone, Agent back to the hand.
And that's a backbreaker for Tom.
Yes, it is.
He had set that up magnificently. It looked like he was going to be able to fight through the Jace unsummons.
See how Duke attacks here. 1 or 2 Angels. Looks like he's going to spin the top first. Wants to make sure he knows exactly what he's looking at. Counterbalance among the cards.
Reed would obviously like to kill as quickly as possible, but he also knows that Tom couldn't easily win the game on the way back.
Doesn't take much. It's just 1 Angel. Ross will quickly untap. He'll take a draw here. Picked up another copy of Vines of the Vastwood.
That might be the draw that Tom needs here.
Maybe.
The Vines gives him another crack at it through a Jace activation.
Tom's got to figure out the best way to tap now, though. Look at these 2 go at it.
Reed's draw has been pretty close to as good as you can ask for here, and Tom is still hanging on.
There's the Agent. Ross will pass it back. Duke knows exactly what he's drawing. No need to spin the top. It's a Vines again, I imagine. Yep. Tom says, I need this in play. It's very important to me to have this in play.
And if Reed's pausing here, he has some way to fight over this, some sort of counterspell.
I would think so, but this is going to resolve. Put you to 2.
Now we'll see what kind of defense Reed can muster. I do not think that Tom has lethal.
See the hand, there's a Corruptor, an Invigorate. I believe the last card is a Fetch Land.
He can get across for 5, and he can't stop the Angels from killing on the way back. I do not. I mean, Tom's going to give this a look, but I do not think he can get out.
I don't think so either. So there's the attack. Gonna go after Jace. Corruptor. Interesting turn here from Tommy. He's hoping that Reed is maybe a little gun shy. Reed's gonna spin the top.
This is the moment of the game where Tom's trying to give him some sort of southpaw swing to see if he can get Reed to play around something that isn't there, or
try to trick you. Well, how about another entreat? Trick that. Make another 4-4. Tom will look at the one card in his hand. He knows he's beat. He's going to pick him up. Reed Duke wins game number 1 here over Tom Ross. Blue, white, red miracles. Up a game over Infect. It's best of 5, not best of 3. I think we got a long way to go.
That's the tools that Reed needs. He needs to be able to access Terminus at instant speed. He needs to win the game quickly, too. Jace did a lot of work there, but those entreats, you know, if you watch Infect play against a deck like Charlotte's Bug, for example, the best card in the matchup, Baleful Strix, because they need something in the air that can block reliably. Entreat is that card for Reed in this matchup. He's able to get to it quickly, and that provided him not only with a clock, but a way to prevent the Nexus from being threatening on the way back.
Game 1 is done. That means it's trivia time. You got the question or the rules?
I got the rules.
All right, I got the question. Fire away.
Cedric's going to ask you a question. Tweet your answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium. Of the correct responses, 1 will be selected at random for a full year of Star City Games premium content. It's about accuracy and not speed, so don't worry about submitting first, just accurately. And please note that this contest giveaway is run at the sole discretion of StarCityGames.com, and that Twitch TV is in no way responsible for giveaways on its streams.
One player has won 2 invitationals. We're about to have a second one. Tom's already won 1. Reed's already won 1. So only one player, soon to be 2, has won 2 invitationals. Name that player.
Tweet your answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium, and make sure you're following us on SCG Live so we can get the prize over to you.
Simple, pretty easy, especially if you watch the Open Series quite a bit. Head back to the match right now. Take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with the boss. 2 Necropy, 2 Rest in Peace, a Sylvan Library, Force of Will, Hydro Blast, 2 copies of Crow's and Grip, Nature's Claim, Piracy Charm, Spell Pierce, Caracas, and 2 copies of Swords and Plowshares. What do we change?
I like the Spell Pierce in the matchup. I like the 2 Crow's and Crypts quite a bit. I think the Force of Will could come in, and the Sylvan Library as well. Just things that allow him to fight the battles that matter and play a longer game.
On Reed's side, you do see some 1s and 2s. I think the most important one, again, might just be Blood Moon.
Blood Moon's really tough on Tom's deck. It's not a lock like it was in the top 4 against Bug Delver, but the card that Reed has to worry the most about is Inkmoth Nexus, and that shuts it down. Tom also has a variety of utility lands. Also, his mana base is just pretty color sensitive as well. So I think Blood Moon's definitely going to be coming in. I think the copies of Pyroblast will come in as they're just cheap answers to things like Blighted Agent, various cantrips. I think the 2 copies of Vendilion Click are reasonable. A Flying Blocker is something Reed could definitely use, as well as interaction with Tom Hand. And the Supreme Verdict and the 4th copy of Terminus will be coming in as well.
Both players going to shuffle up here shortly. Game number 2 will be underway. Reed able to win game number 1 pre-sideboard. Didn't see that coming. But a bad brainstorm for Tom in the early turns of the game, I think, may be what led to that. You know, Reed did draw his important cards in the matchup, and unsurprisingly, he used them all very well.
A very good hand, and one that I'm willing to bet he mulliganed for quite aggressively. Reed understands the matchup. Can't mess around. Whatever he's going for, he's got to find right away.
Yeah, can't keep any rubbish hands.
You look at what Tom did to Jared Betcher in the top 8. I mean, he was winning on turn 3 with Force of Will backup against an opposing Force of Will. Reed knows that speed is at a premium here. So is Cheap Disruption.
Again, winner of this match, $10,000 trophy, and of course likeness on a card. Reed has already said he'd like to be a dragon token for the new Sarkhan Vol, card we haven't even talked about just yet. And well, the boss, he wants to be a Sliver token, I think, for the old Sliver Hive.
Sure.
I like it. I can dig it. I'll have
Tom-
Sliver Hive see some play.
Tom with some casual friendly tokens thus far.
Yeah, for sure.
Infect and Slivers.
Because when I think friendly, I think Infect.
Well, I mean, on the casual level, people like playing with spells, like pump spells being good is a fun thing. Tom's Tom's deck is just a combo deck in disguise. It's not a, you know.
Oh, I'm fully aware. I think he made a lot of people aware of that this weekend.
It's not like you could beat Tom's deck with leeches, you know what I mean? It's not that sort of thing.
Well, that's really too bad. That would be a fun way to go about beating him.
That would be pretty fun.
The old leeches. I do think that, you know, I mean, Tom lost game 1, sure. I still think things are in his favor here.
Yeah, I think so too. Although I think Reed is getting more out of the sideboard games than Tom is. His sideboard adds more. I think Reed's still behind in the post-board games, but he does improve.
And Tom with some decent options. I like the library. I like the Force of Will. Some decent things going on here. Does have to be wary of Blood Moon. Can't lose that. I know he did beat Jared when Jared put that in play earlier today, but he found the basic forest.
The difference in this matchup is Tom really wants to have Inkmoth Nexus. Against Sneak and Show, he can take it or leave it.
Sure.
If that's one of his threats, okay, I guess, but he'd rather be on his creatures. Against Reed, Inkmoth Nexus is his best tool, and so Blood Moon is much worse in this matchup for him than it would be against something like Sneak and Show.
Well, the player's going to lay out 7. The boss will take a look. He'll be on the play. He keeps pretty quickly. We saw Duke take a mulligan last game. Worked out great for him. We'll see if he'll go down again. Again, I do think this is a matchup where we will probably see Reed take a healthy amount of mulligans just to find the right hands to operate. He's giving his opening hand a very long look again, and he's going to mulligan again.
Has to do it. And his deck does mulligan very well. It's 24 lands, so not likely to mulligan in no landers. 4 copies of Sensei's Divine Top, and of course 4 copies of Brainstorm, so a lot of ways to dig out of the early game. So he can afford to be pretty aggressive here looking for the right cards.
And again, it's not much of a surprise to see a mulligan here. You know, again, he mulliganed the last game. We didn't get a great look of his opening hand in the last game, but it's not too surprising to see him mulligan. There are a healthy amount of cards that don't matter, especially in game 1, and a large amount, not a large amount, but enough of them that do, that he can mulligan aggressively to find the cards he needs to try to win the matchup.
Something like, I have a Council's Judgment in this hand. I have a Supreme Verdict in this hand. That doesn't really matter very much. If those cards are supplemented by other removal spells, Terminus in a way to set it up, Source of Plowshares and so forth, those cards can become quite valuable. But on their own, those are cards that are not good enough to allow Reed to keep a hand.
6 cards here for the Duke. As Tom patiently waits, and Reed keeps rather quickly, so he's happy. Game number 2 is underway. It's a Glistener Elf right away. Got to put Reed to the test. Reed does have a Force of Will. Looks like a second copy is what he's drawn for the turn.
Spell Pierce, very disruption heavy hand.
Tom's hand, not all that impressive. He does have a single Wasteland. He drew another copy of Force of Will. No pump spells here yet. No Noble Hierarch to make things bigger. Might just being a boring attack for 1.
The one Wasteland could be exciting in this game because Reed showed no inclination to play around in game 1.
Reed does have 1 infect counter now. Reed will draw a card. There's an island. And just pass it back over to Ross, who will draw. That was a copy of Spell Pierce. So Tom has a lot of reactive permission.
But these are some pretty slow beats.
It only takes 10 of them.
This is not the Infect Berserk or the Invigorate Berserk action we traditionally see out of top.
Not quite, no. 2 Infect now for Duke, as Tom does play the Wasteland. So now Reed's going to have to search it up maybe a little bit differently than he'd like. There's Narid Mesa. Just pass the turn back. Ross will draw. It's a copy of Verdant Catacombs. How about 1 more? How about 3 Infect? Does Ross want to play that fetch land? Maybe better off holding that in case he draws a Brainstorm. Thinking about it. There that is. Yeah, oddly enough, what Tom kind of wants to draw here is a card like Pendelhaven.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. You don't say that a lot, especially when you're watching Legacy, as Duke will draw a card.
He might crop rotate for a Pendelhaven.
Yeah.
Got the choice.
Oh, absolutely. He'll draw a card. Inkmoth Nexus, that'll speed it up. Attack you again. Tom shrugs his shoulders. Reed says, up to 4. There's Nexus, kick it back. Who's going to move first? How about a Brainstorm?
Yeah, for those of you watching at home who are not that familiar with Legacy, you have to believe me when I tell you these are both pretty powerful decks. Yeah. Not really singing it right now, but just stay with us. It'll heat up. It'll heat up eventually.
The fireworks will go off soon. Reed gonna draw 3, put 2 back here. One card you can't see in Duke's hand. There's a red one. It's that copy of Blood Moon. He'd love to get that in play against Tom.
Though the problem here is, every time Reed taps out for something on his own turn, it's an enormous cost. It just lowers the amount of defense he has to fight on the way back. Tom could be in a position where he says, I don't even care about Blood Moon if his hand's really powerful. He has the fetch lands right now in play. He can go get his forest with it. He'll be functional on mana. He'll be able to cast his Invigorate.
And he's got the Crozen Grip in his hand.
Yeah.
For the Blood Moon. So, he has an answer. We'll see if Reed prioritizes getting Blood Moon into play this game.
Yeah, Tom can not care about Blood Moon. I more mean from Reed's perspective. It's very risky for him to ever initiate anything on his own turn that isn't killing all of Tom's creatures.
Sure.
When Tom has any sort of a board.
Reed gonna sacrifice that Flooded Strand. See what landing wants to go get. I imagine it's a basic in the face of the Wasteland, and it is. Get a Plains. We'll see if Reed has any other action here at the end of Tom's turn, as he did make it a perfect Brainstorm with the fetch land. Looks like maybe a Swords of Plowshares, perhaps? Absolutely. Tom, no interest in fighting. These Force of Wills and these 2 blue cards are much too valuable to do that. Duke will draw a card.
Also, Reed's been so patient. You have to assume he's ready to fight a fight. If Tom wants to start Force of Willing and Dazing and Spell Piercing back on that Swords of Plowshares.
Thought about playing the Thunder, but he says, yeah, I'm going to sacrifice first. So away goes the Arid Mesa. Let's see if it's time for the Mountain. Okay, Volcanic's just fine. Might be time for that Blood Moon War.
Feels like it. If he's willing to go get a Volcanic here in the face of the Wasteland.
Yeah, let's Blood Moon. Let's saddle up.
Now, this is a great spot to initiate a fight over Blood Moon because the board's effectively empty. If Reed wins this fight, Tom does not have a board.
And we got to remember, Tom has that Crozen Grip at the ready, so even if this resolves, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, this is the unfortunate part from Reed's perspective. I believe there's 2 copies of Crozen Grip in Tom's sideboard here. And that's the worst case scenario for the play that Reed's making. Because Tom can simply fetch for a basic forest, allow the Blood Moon to resolve, Crozen Grip, and then Reed's shields are somewhat down to fight over this Nexus the following turn. And the Wasteland is now turned back on.
Yeah. What I find really compelling about this is, does Tom want to try to initiate a fight where Reed has to have a counterspell? Reed uses a counterspell because that's one less counterspell in the future for Tom to work his way through.
Yeah.
Again, Tom has 2 Force Wills and 2 blue cards. And Reed's got a couple cards in his hand. This Tom's going to search up a tropical island and a forest. So how to try to fight back is the question. You see the 2 forces, Spell Pierce, Daze.
But Tom's got to be pretty thrilled that this is what Reed is doing right now.
Spell Pierce. Reed will quickly pay.
This is such a good play from Tom.
Now how about a Daze?
I mean, I think he's doing this because he anticipates Reed really cares about this Blood Moon. He may be able to drain a Force of Will out of Reed in this spot, and then Tom can just go untap, Crozen Grip this Blood Moon. I think that he's trying to bait Reed into really caring about this.
Yep.
Or acting like Tom really cares about it.
Now he's going to waste there. Blood Moon resolves. Take care of your red source, draw a card. Draw a copy of Noble Hierarch. He'll tap 3, rip it and rip it. Get that off the table. Can't counter that, split second. There's Noble, kick it back. Tom's last 2 cards, Force Will and a blue card.
That was a great fake battle that Tom fought last turn. All the indicators that Tom threw out there was, I really care about this Blood Moon. Maybe I can't even beat this Blood Moon, and got Reed to fight a battle that ended up not really mattering.
And now Tom's drawn a copy of Invigorate. So now he can go for lethal if he wants. Attack you, Exalted Trigger. What's this? Oh. Oof.
I think this is gonna get a fight out of Tom here because this click trades with an Invigorate
Oof.
in the best case scenario.
That's a big draw by Reed. I'll tell you what. Tom was not hoping for that. Reed with 2 cards left over. And if you don't know what those 2 cards are, it's a Force of Will and a blue card. So here's this.
I really can't get over that Blood Moon play. I think there's a lot of players who have just said, yeah, your Blood Moon resolves, Crozane grip it.
Yep.
Tom knows that the evidence on the board points to this Blood Moon really matters.
Now, there's the Force of Will back. And so for Tom, he's going to hard cast Invigorate because this is a lethal attack. The Vanilla Cliff's not going to get to do anything. And so now, of course, Reed has to block.
Yeah, this is just a chump block.
Yep, that's all that is. And now it's on Reed, the top of Reed's deck to get the job done.
And Tom, always the technician, won't even give Reed the 4 life.
Absolutely not. You don't get that 4 life. I don't think so. Let's see what this draw is. Council's Judgment. Yeah, might as well shrug the shoulders. Yeah, take care of that. So who can peel better? Ross fired up. And there's a Glistener Elf. Not a bad draw. The Duke. How'd he do? Caracas, not so good. Ross will draw. He'll think for a minute. Wonder what he drew. Maybe a Brainstorm. But he says, let's get in for 2 more. Put you up to 7. Kick it back. Duke draws.
Yeah, Reed put his shields down last turn, making that land drop. But he needed to maximize and treat as a draw.
Taxian Probe to get some info. What you got, Reed? Just a Spell Pierce. Tom, draw, another Probe. Cycle that, he can try to get the kill here. Draw a card. Fire in, get you for 2. There's another Nexus. Facing down lethal now. Duke draws a card. Kicks it back. Do have to be a little wary of Brainstorm here if you're Tom. He'll fire up all 3. If he brainstorms in Terminus, this is a disaster, but it's not there. Tom Ross wins game number 2 over Reed Duke. Let's head to a 3rd one, shall we?
Yes, let's.
I don't mind if you don't.
Let's do this.
Can we make it best of 7?
Tom is a nasty dude. It would have been so easy just to say, yeah, Crozane grip it. But he was not satisfied with doing just that. Might as well get a Force of Will out of him while you're there.
Yep, I like it. I like it a lot. Boy, these two are going to go back and forth, and it's going to be fun to watch the whole
I gotta
way.
imagine Tom's got some riverboat gambler background that we don't really know about, but he must have played some cards in some gully games, you know?
The only thing missing is the coat. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing missing.
It's been a little warm in here this weekend, in fairness,
true.
you know?
With the fire and everything. So I'm never going to let it go, Jersey boy. I'm never going to let it go.
Well, it's just, whatever. Well, we got a slide to show you. Bring it up.
Papa Joe Lissette. If you didn't know, well, now you do. Season 3 point leader here. Does qualify for our Players' Championship. Congratulations to him. A lot of hard work for him.
Did a lot of traveling to Opens there towards the end of Season 3. Good performances in the Invitationals. Activity in the Southern California IQ scene. And he has locked it up. Needed basically not for disaster to strike in the Invitational this weekend. It did not. And he will be joining Reed Duke as the 2 people this weekend who are locking up invites to the Players' Championship.
A player in California. I know we don't go there a lot.
Not an easy thing to do.
That's not easy to do. But Joe Lissette, he made the most of his traveling. You know, Dallas, I think, is the big one where he ended up topping the Legacy Open. If you're going to fly around, you got to put the performances up, and he did so. And that's why he's headed to Roanoke at the end of the year. And that one, Joe, that one's on us.
Yeah. We'll take care of that.
We'll take care of the airfare for you. Congratulations again to Joe Lissette, number 5, headed to Roanoke.
And I can tell you, because Star City Games has booked my travel for the Players' Championship already, that's not a cheap flight. So I'm sure Joe's pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. That is the case. I can't imagine it's too cheap from Seattle either.
Yeah, not a lot of Seattle to Roanoke flights, you
That's
know.
strange. Thanks to the good people at Star City Games for
Yeah,
taking
thank
care
you.
of that. Oh boy, game number 3 here between Duke and Ross. See if they're going to change any of their configuration or not. Should be fun. Again, you see Reed taking a look. Tom doing the same. And Tom is always going to be the aggressor in this matchup, and it's Duke's job to make sure he doesn't die. Tried to turn the corner pretty quickly. And Treat the Angels allows him to do that, as we saw in game number 1, but he couldn't find a way to turn the corner in game 2, and Ross was able to get the job done. But the scary thing is, you know, for Reed in that situation, he was drawing live. A card like Entreat the Angels turns the entire game around.
He was right there.
Yeah.
And even on that last turn, Brainstorm into Terminus gets the job done.
Yeah, I was a little scared for Tom there. That attack, if it's a Brainstorm into Terminus, I mean, sure, Reed's running well there, but you open yourself up to some danger.
Yeah, the other side of it is, you know, if he only attacks with 2 things, then Brainstorm into Entreat is 2 Angels and he's short.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's more copies of Terminus in the deck than there are copies of Entreat, so I probably would have chosen to play around the Terminus there, but
The thing is, and that's what makes Miracle such a great deck, is they seem like they're dead to rights, but there is a combination of cards, it seems like always, that can get them back in the game.
it's just untap lethal on board. Can you attack? Not clear. That situation comes up
You're
a lot.
9 poison, I have 3 infectors.
I guess send 2?
Wrong.
Or I say go?
Yeah, also wrong.
Wait this one out, maybe?
Yeah. I need a probe to make sure the coast is clear.
Yeah.
So it makes the deck so great. So very good. Let's not forget as well, my friends, at the conclusion of this fantastic match, and again, we'll have a winner's interview with the winner. We'll have a Legacy Open to cover.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we got a 10-rounder today.
Yeah.
We got over 400 people, I believe, to show up for this one, which
Healthy.
is great. And I'm not sure what round we'll get to it. Probably, you know, definitely towards the second half of the day.
Yeah, 7 or 8, I think.
But we'll be, you know, we'll have what we have. And we've had some good players playing in that open. I know that Brad Nelson and Shahar Shenhar squared off in round 1.
Awesome. Who won, do you know?
Shahar did. I know that Jerry Thompson and Mike Flores squared off round 2
I
in
know
the 0-1 bracket.
I know who won that one. Mike Flores burned Jerry T up.
Uh-huh.
Probably did you happy. Did you proud.
Wasn't bad. I didn't mind it. Watched for a little bit.
Yeah. See if Reed likes his opening 7 here. Long look yet again for Duke. He's going to keep it. Ross is going to keep. Duke's going to start with an Arid Mesa, kick it over to Tom. Tom will draw a card. See if he's got an Infector to start with. Maybe
Looks like a
Noble
pretty
Hierarch.
land-heavy draw on
does.
Tom's side.
He does have the basic forest. It does look very land-heavy. Brainstorm, the important card here. I think the last card that you can't see, the white border one, that might be the Sylvan Library.
Ah.
And that's an important one.
Very good if this game goes on for a very long time, which it is sort of shaping up to be. You know, Reed with a lot of defenses in his hand. It looks like a Source of Plowshares, a Force of Will, and Tom with nothing going on turn 1. So this might be one of those games where Sylvan Library does a lot of work.
A Brainstorm here for the boss. Reed may be considering countering this. We'll see. Two cards going to go back. Good to go. Ross will draw a card. It's that forest. It looks like he found a copy of Corrosion Grip too. So Blood Moon, well, that's shut off.
And now, I'm sure Tom is already thinking about how to set the trap where he sandbags the forest for as long as possible to get Reed to overvalue a Blood Moon. That's already spinning in the head.
I imagine that's the case. Noble Hierarch plus Misty Rainforest, kick it back. You see Reed with a couple copies of Force Will. You saw the swords as well. Let's see what this is. Just a Scalding Tarn. Duke's gonna sacrifice this. Down to 19 he goes. It's an island. Yeah, life total doesn't matter very much here for Reed. It's all about the infect damage. None yet, though.
I don't know. Tom can start getting in for 1.
He can get a little nasty.
I'm been killed by damage before from an infect deck.
Well, that's
Can happen.
embarrassing.
Oh,
You should keep that to yourself.
it was on camera. At a Grand Prix.
We'll sacrifice the Misty Rainforest, will Tom.
So yeah,
Yeah, there's evidence.
now that you're mentioning it,
Yep.
it was pretty embarrassing. Ranker on Noble Hierarch, man, that's 4. And they have other pump spells in
sounds
the
like
deck.
sounds like 3 to me.
Oh, that's 3. Yeah.
Sounds like 3. Maybe that's why you lost.
Second Noble
Your
Hierarch.
inability to count.
Second Noble Hierarch
Okay.
makes 4. And then they have pump spells anyway. I mean, that's a lot.
Aha. And Inkmoth Nexus is the land. Sylvan Library is the spell. Force of Will.
And because Reed really doesn't have anything going on right now, he has to fight some sort of fight over this.
I think so too.
'Cause
The
it's-
library is so good.
Some of the library in this spot is pretty close to, draw 4 extra cards.
Here's a Ponder. Vines of the Vastwood Invigorator. Among the toys Tom's looking at. You can see an Invigorator in his hand. Also has a Corrosion Grip. Interesting stuff here. Looks like Tom's going to keep it. Okie dokie. He's happy with what he sees. And with 2 Force Wills out of the way, you see Duke did cast Force Will, removing Force of Will. The coast may be clear for the boss to go for it next turn. Duke, a counterbalance. That could be anything. Spell Pierce.
Ugh.
Well, that
You're in
makes,
Reed's seat.
that makes things tough. Feel free to pay if you'd like, Reed.
Yeah. It's
I
super
think he's going
powerful.
to.
My deck's all 1-mana spells.
Yep.
Just get it into play.
Looks like Reed will pay. Well, at least he'll sacrifice both those fetch lands. A Plains? Maybe the Volcanic Island. And he will pay, so counterbalance is in. The boss will draw. Oh, he's okay. He's moving in.
All right.
Well then.
Comes down to this sort of
Yeah,
thing.
it sure does. I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing. If you've watched Tom play, he does not move that fast.
Yeah.
What's this?
The Council's Judgment, perhaps?
The Sensei's Divining Top.
Okay.
How about another
Yeah.
Invigorate? The coast is clear. You have another Force of Will? Tree Exalted? No, sir. Tom Ross. 2-1. Infect gets it done. Game 4 is on the way.
And I believe Reed may have died with a plow in his hand.
Not sure. Didn't get a great look. I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think you're right. Not positive, though.
But the thing is, he has to do something. He can't. If Tom controls the terms of engagement in the games, he's eventually going to kill Reed. Reed needs to get some sort of structure set up, whether it's an entreat, a counterbalance plus a divining top, something. He can't just hold up a Swords of Ploddress the entire game, even if he has it, because Tom's going to easily be able to play over the top of that. And in fact, Tom had 2 copies of Vines of the Vastwood in his hand, I think, at the end of the game as well.
At least one.
At least one. So I think Reed needs to basically get stuff onto the table and then defend himself as much as he can, because he can't wait all day against this deck that has, counters of its own, Vines of the Vastwood. Even Gitaxian Probe makes it really risky for Reed to play too defensive of the game.
Truth be told, if you're Reed, the way these other games have gone, what are the chances I die this turn? Think about how Tom's won the other games. A little hit here, hit there,
Got
blah,
a hierarch,
blah,
I got a hierarch and a Nexus, I'll hit you for 2 and so on.
blah. Nothing crazy. No combo kill until now.
And even if, it kind of has to be 2 copies of Berserk there, because there's a very good chance that Reed, there's so many 1s in his deck that if he tries to go off with, say, Berserk or Vines, there's a reasonable shot Reed can protect himself with a blind reveal.
Yeah, got to be the 2 Invigorates.
It has to be 2 Invigorates that really punishes Reed for that line of play.
Well, he had it, and it did. So Tom Ross does win game number 3, and the game 4 is where we will go. Again, Duke will be on the play here. So we'll see what he can put together. There you do see the sideboards on the screen. And again, both players, I don't imagine they're going to change very much. A lot of tools here. We saw Reed with the Blood Moons. Wouldn't be surprised to see Baneslayer Angel on the deck after sideboard. Flying blockers are good. Soft Vendilion Click. So a lot of nice options there for him. For Tom, Sylvan Library did get countered last game, understandably so. Provides a huge advantage for him. Some other nice options, Corrosion Grip. We know that's in his deck.
Oh, yeah.
Have to. Killing Counterbalance and Blood Moon, that's pretty important.
Divine Top as well.
Yeah, can snag one of those. See if Duke can even it up here. I think we all deserve a game 5.
I feel like me, you, the crowd, and probably these two wouldn't mind a 5th game.
Yeah, give me a game 5.
I know Reed definitely wants a 5th game. People on the rail. Our spotter, Nick Miller.
Everybody. Our directors. Give me a game 5 between these two great players. See if Reed can even it up.
I think this is a tough matchup, though.
I think it's very tough.
A lot of things had to break right for Reed to take that first game, and the next two have not felt particularly close.
He's going to mulligan here. See if Tom likes his opening hand. He hasn't mulliganed yet. And it looks like he's happy.
On the cusp of back-to-back invitational wins.
One game away. One single game away from something incredible. And you know, talking to Tom Friday, I asked about his decks. I just wanted to confirm what I thought he was doing, which was Rabble Red and Infect. And he said, you know, I almost played the Mono Red Sneak Attack deck that Brad played, but I couldn't find the cards. And he said, I'm splashing white and Infect. I don't even really like it. I haven't really done it that often. Splashing white for Rest in Peace and Swords and Plowshares. I'm not even in love with the splash. I'm not even in love with Rabble Red right now, but I'm just going to play what I know. See how it goes. It's going pretty well.
There's a lot of advantage to playing what you know. The lines of play that Tom have identified both in Standard and Legacy on camera, I think, display a lot of knowledge of the inner workings of matchups.
Reed's going to keep. It's a Flooded Strand to start game 4. Ross will draw.
Looks like there's a Nexus in his hand alongside some cantrips.
Oh, well, Hierarch's nice. It's a good start to the game there for Ross. Duke will draw a card. Looks like he has at least one Swords over there, maybe 2. Scalding Tarn, just to pass the turn for Duke, as Ross will draw. Another copy of Noble Hierarch is the draw. I think it's getting a little interesting now.
Tom just drew an Invigorate and sat up in his chair a little bit. You know, when the burn player draw a card, they sit up in their chair, they ask you what you're at. That sort of move.
Never want to be on the receiving end of that. Glistener Elf. Nexus. Pass the turn. Sacrifice the Flooded Strand. Duke down to 19. There's a Plains. Might be time for Swords.
The tough thing is, it's hard for Reed to even initiate much right now because there's 2 different threatening creatures in play. So if you use a removal spell here, that's fine, but Tom can rebuild and start attacking. But if you don't do anything, then Tom just gets to go, all right, I'll untap and attack you with 1 creature. So it's a tough squeeze to be put in.
Swords will take care of the Glistener Elf. Ross, no interest. Fighting, responding, nothing. Let it go. Duke will draw a card. It's an island. Kick it back over. Ross will cast a Brainstorm in the end step. That's good to go. A Karakas, a Berserk, and an Inkmoth Nexus is what Ross has picked up. Well, we'll see what 2 he puts back. And of course, we'll have to draw one of them. Doesn't look like he's found a fetch land, so might have to draw them both. We'll see.
And the Karakas, if that is in the deck, did come out of the sideboard.
Yeah,
So
it is in the sideboard.
Tom just looking for something that can balance a Vendilion Clique on defense.
Looks like 2 lands are going to go back. Caracas among them. Brainstorm done resolving. Ross will untap. Time to draw. Ponders what he's found. There's a Nexus. Fire up this one. And attack for 2 with the Exalted trigger. 2 infect goes Reed's way. Time for a Ponder from Tom. See him using the Hierarch instead of a land. Blighted Agent among the things he's found, but he does not like those at all. A very quick shuffle.
Yeah, 2 lands and a creature. Not really that interested in a creature at this point because he's got enough stuff in play to attack, and the land's of no help as well.
Again, Ross has already played his land for the turn with the Inkmoth Nexus. So we'll see what the mystery card is here. Didn't get a great look at it. Frozen Grip is what it is. And he just passes the turn back. Over to Duke. Duke will sacrifice that Scalding Tarn. Down to 18 he goes. We'll see what land he searches up here. Again, doesn't have to worry about Wasteland very much in this matchup. Only 1 in Tom's deck. Doesn't play a huge role in things. We've seen him actively search up the Volcanic Island. He's going to go for that again.
He has fetched basics when it's been convenient to do so, but I don't think it's something that is weighing very much on him.
Perhaps it's time for a card like Vendilion Click. Yes, it is. Doesn't look like Ross has a counterspell.
And pretty entertaining here that I think Tom may have shuffled away the Caracas from, you know, the Brainstorm Ponder situation he set up last turn.
The grip is a Crozen Grip, along with the Berserk, a Noble Hierarch, a Vines of the Vastwood, and a Spell Pierce. See if Reed's trying to work his way into Blood Moon territory. So he does take a look at all of these cards, writes them all down. We'll see if it's time for him to select one or just say, you can keep them. I think I can beat those.
Not sure how great it is to go onto a Blood Moon plan at this point with the Noble Hierarch in play and another one in the hand. It does shut down the Nexuses, obviously, but Tom's drawing pretty live past that point. But if Reed had some sweeper to follow up with, then setting up Blood Moon can be very good here.
And Duke gonna give this a long look. Tough decision here. Gonna go with the Spell Pierce. Ross will draw a mystery card. It's a copy of Invigorate. That'll speed things up.
Not a bad mystery card to receive.
Not bad at all. Especially in the combination with his good friend Berserk. It's a Jace. Let's see what Reed wants to do with this, as it is going to end up resolving. See you later, Noble Hierarch. At least we think.
I think it's possible Tom may have it. Or he's close. I mean, he may be a mana short, but he may fight over this Jace because 1 mana in the next turn plus another mana, I think, may allow him to animate both of his Nexuses, attack, and Invigorate Berserk, the one that doesn't get blocked. He may not even need it because Berserk gives trample, and the click can only prevent 1.
He is seriously considering this, and he will Vines.
Yeah, I think Tom may be making his move right now.
He's quickly untapping, so I think you're right. Gataxian Probe is going to see if the coast is clear. That's a Terminus and a Swords. Ross will draw a card. Forest, activate. You.
He's got it.
Yeah, not Jace. You.
This is 6 plus 12.
Invigorate.
Minus 11. This is 13 infect total.
He can't show it fast enough. Invigorate's going to give it +4/+4. That's going to make it a 6-power creature. Berserk makes it a 12 with trample. There's Berserk. That's an extension of the hand.
Wow.
Tom the Boss Ross beats Reed Duke 3-1, and he is back-to-back Star City Games Invitational Champion.
An accomplishment that I would think would never happen. Someone going back-to-back. For Reed Duke, another incredible performance, plus locking up a spot in the Players' Championship. But for Tom, I mean, what more can be said?
You can see behind him Brad Nelson, his good friend. He's coming in for the real thing. Big Bear's going to get his paws on him. He earned it. A hell of a tournament for Reed, but Tom Ross, I'm going to say this again because I can't believe I'm saying this. Back-to-back Invitational Champion.